The subject of this presentation is the beginning of Chapter 4 of Pirke Avot, featuring timeless wisdom from Ben Zoma. It's a short, concentrated paragraph, and I'll read it now. Ben Zoma says, "Who is the wise one? He who learns from all men, as it says, I have acquired understanding from all my teachers." Psalms 119:99. Who is the mighty one? He who conquers his impulse, as it says, slowness to anger is better than a mighty person, and the ruler of his spirit than the conqueror of a city. Proverbs 16:22. Who is the rich one? He who is happy with his lot, as it says, when you eat from the work of your hands, you will be happy and it will be well with you. Psalms 128:2. You will be happy in this world, and it will be well with you in the world to come. Who is honored? He who honors the created beings, as it says, for those who honor me, I will honor, and those who despise me will be held in little esteem. 1 Samuel 2:30. We can boil this down to 4 key points. Their meaning and wisdom are well worth pondering deeply. What I'm proposing in this presentation is that Ben Zoma's advice draws upon and aligns with the core principles of Jewish ethics in ways that may not be immediately obvious. Jewish ethics is based on an understanding of human nature. What is the Jewish view of human nature? The foundational principle is there are 2 inclinations in every person: the Yetzer Hara, the inclination to do evil, and the Yetzer Hatov, the inclination to do good. Every person has both. I think that's very comforting. It's easy to get discouraged when you see your own Yetzer Hara. But Judaism says, look, that's how it is, and it's okay. And why it's okay is, in part, the subject of Ben Zoma's wisdom. We probably think we understand in general what these 2 things mean, but this is worth exploring. For starters, I think we can look at it in terms of word pairs: competition versus cooperation, ambition versus aspiration toward holiness, greed versus generosity, lust versus love. This gives us a general idea, but what is the essence? What is the unifying principle behind it? That principle could be expressed as how we look at self and other. Yetzer Hara sees life in terms of self versus other. Yetzer Hatov sees self and others as equal, that is, equally worthy of respect and consideration. In other words, Yetzer Hara is the power perspective, and Yetzer Hatov is the respect perspective. What I'm suggesting is very similar to the 2 great encapsulations of Torah wisdom. Rabbi Hillel, what is hateful to you, do not do to another person. That's a Yetzer Hatov perspective. The Yetzer Hara perspective is what is hateful to you, do to others before they do it to you. Or Rabbi Akiva quoting the holiness code in Leviticus, love your neighbor as yourself. That's the idea behind the equal sign in my formulation. Given that everyone has these two inclinations, what does Judaism say about how to live well? Well, we know that Yetzer Hara leads to a very bad place. A bad place for the individual who follows it, and, as a social principle, a bad place for just about everyone. We know that Yetzer HaTov maybe leads in a better direction, but I think Judaism suggests that Yetzer HaTov alone is not a realistic expectation. It's too steep. It's not possible to eliminate the qualities of Yetzer Hara, and more importantly, it's not desirable. It says in the Talmud that without Yetzer Hara, nothing would happen. That's a very important insight. It suggests the surprising idea that Yetzer Hara is actually good, in keeping with the Jewish view that all of creation is good. The Jewish view is that Yetzer Hara itself is not bad. What's problematic is when Yetzer Hara is not balanced by Yetzer HaTov. If we establish a balance between them, if the Yetzer Hara vector is corrected by the Yetzer HaTov vector, that's the path that's going to lead us in the best possible direction. So what does all this have to do with Ben Zoma? I think it has everything to do with Ben Zoma. His advice is rooted in his unflinching and realistic understanding and acceptance of human nature, in accord with the Jewish tradition we've been talking about. I mean, look at the four things he brings up. Just think about it for a second. Do you want to be smart, powerful, rich, famous? Of course you do. We all do. To this day, advertising constantly appeals to these wishes. And how many things do you do every day that aren't in some way motivated by one or more of these goals? Ben Zoma doesn't even ask the question, do you want to be these things? He assumes it. He knows that you do. That knowledge is where he begins. What he's addressing is the important question, which is how. And he answers this question in a surprising way. Before we explore his answer, let's ask another question. Who is Ben Zoma talking to? That is, who within us is he talking to? Is he talking to Yetzer HaTov, or is he talking to Yetzer Hara? And the answer, the brilliant, beautiful answer, is that he's talking to both. He's getting our interest by appealing to Yetzer Hara and offering an alternative Yetzer HaTov perspective on these goals. For sure, Yetzer Hara, the self against others attitude, the power dynamic, for sure, Yetzer Hara wants these things. Ben Zoma, in effect, is saying, accept that Yetzer Hara desire, but temper it, balance it with the Yetzer HaTov perspective of respect for others. I think this is very clear when we go through the qualities one at a time. How to be smart? Yetzer Hara has its competitive view. Study hard, ace the test, be at the top of the class. Yetzer HaTov offers a different perspective. It says, you can't do it alone. Be humble, learn from all people, be a lifelong learner. This is Yetzer Hara tempered by Yetzer HaTov. How to be powerful? Yetzer Hara says, build up your strength, learn how to fight, and win a lot of fights. Yetzer HaTov says, controlling yourself is really the greatest challenge, and it's really the ultimate victory. This very directly explains that Yetzer Hara has to be balanced with Yetzer HaTov. The blended motivation is clear in the proof text, saying that a person who controls himself is even more powerful than a person who conquers a city. And how to get rich? Yetzer Hara says, work hard, work smart. In other words, use the power and the smartness that you've developed and get money, and then display the wealth so that everyone sees that you are richer than they are. Yetzer HaTov says, don't chase being rich because you'll never be satisfied. You'll always want more, and there will always be someone richer than you. Instead, be content, be grateful for what you have. In other words, you can't get what you really want by following Yetzer Hara alone. Finally, Yetzer Hara explains how to be famous. Be very arrogant, promote yourself as much as possible, win attention, and fight to stay in the limelight at all costs. Yetzer HaTov says, honor and respect others. Don't chase fame, and perhaps surprisingly it will come, because if you're ready to give honor and respect, others will be ready to give it to you. Ben Zoma's brilliant insight, I think, is that all those things in column A that we just outlined are going to be there. That's a given. He actually appeals to those things because he knows that without Yetzer Hara nothing happens. So column A is not the issue. Column B is the issue. Ben Zoma is saying, take your column A and blend in column B. There's more to life than competition. There's more to life than Yetzer Hara. This is why I think Ben Zoma is aligned with that Jewish tradition that encourages us to establish the balance between these two inclinations. In competition, we always have winners and losers. Ben Zoma suggests that every person can be smart, powerful, rich, and famous in the best possible way, in the way that leads to genuine fulfillment, both in this world and in the world to come.